So one of the things as fans that we like to do when it comes to, certain shows or events, if you will, is we like to always predict what's going to happen next. And this is nothing new. You know, since the dawn of television, especially weekly television, we always like to, kind of predict how we feel things are going to go or what we could see potentially coming next. And the same goes with sporting events or sports entertainment events. We always like to preview certain, matches or fights that are going to take place, and we believe it's going to go this way because it just makes more sense, in our opinion, to go that way. And that's basically overall the fun aspect about being a fan is speculating and theorizing. The only thing we hate about it though is when we get proven wrong. When we get proven, wrong about something that we feel should be done or should have happened, and we basically got to deal with whatever they got planned in the long run, or however they're going to come up with a solution to get to that point that we believe they should get to because it's inevitable or it makes sense to get to that point. You know, for example, with WandaVision, and WandaVision just wrapped up. For 9 weeks, people were speculating, oh, this is going to happen. This character is going to show up. This is going to play a role. You know, this is going to be the big Luke Skywalker cameo they're talking about and teasing. This is going to be the astrophysicist that's going to build a machine that, Monica needs to get back into the hex. We would throw out, basically, for 9 weeks, we would throw out, theories and speculations because, we felt that if this is kind of loosely based off the stories out of the out of the Marvel comics, that it would make sense to go that route, especially if with Disney now you know acquiring Fox and thus Marvel Studios reabsorbing the licenses, the titles of X-Men and Fantastic Four and all that to expand on in series and movie properties. To a lot of us, it made sense for WandaVision to be that jumping off point, maybe for that to happen. And that when that wouldn't happen or that didn't happen, yeah, we would come out and be upset about it. Like, man, you had the opportunity. It made sense. You could have done this. It makes sense. They did it in the comics. You need to kind of stay true to the comics somehow. Da, da, da. We wouldn't like it. We wouldn't like it, and we would come out here and we would vent our frustrations because to us it made more sense for them to go that route or to go in those routes, if you will, those directions. However, when we would get things right, like, since the very first episode, people said Agnes was Agatha Harkness from the comics. When that got proven right about 7, 8 episodes later, we were like, see, we told you, we told you. I mean, there were people that told John Campia, who was holding out that it wouldn't, was holding out his opinion, or was holding out the fact that this may not be Agatha. They would, come on to super chats and Streamlab tips and tell him basically, and he would read it on air. See, we told you it was her. And John, humble enough, would come out and say, yeah, you're right, I was wrong about that. It was her. Another good example was recently, a couple weeks ago, when the Darkhold book showed up. It got focused on, and John basically held off the fact that, okay, it's not going to play a role. I don't think it's going to play a major role in what's going to happen, for the rest of the series or the finale or even into Doctor Strange and all that. And guess what? John got proven wrong, and people pointed that out to him, and he was humble enough to acknowledge, yeah, I was wrong about that. Because, he didn't think, Kevin Feige would attempt to, rewrite what was established in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but he did. He basically rebooted it and said, hey, and basically said, hey, by me doing this, I, Kevin Feige, don't consider Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. canon. So yeah, the Darkhold book did get proven to be correct, from people's perspectives, and they were not hesitant, like I said, to tell John Campia, see, we told you so, we told you so. But again, as much as they like to shove it in people's faces that they were right about it, again, like I said, the one thing they don't like about, being in the fandom of any kind of where you speculate and theorize and all that, is when you get proven wrong and you have to basically accept it. Because then, like I said, you come out and you vent it and you explain why it didn't make sense and for them not to do this because it did make sense. You know, Another good example is being a wrestling fan. I mean, for the past week or so, a lot of us have been doing our predictions since Wednesday, more so than anything, or even on Wednesday after AEW Dynamite. A lot of us have been making our predictions about what is going to happen tonight at the Revolution pay-per-view. And one match, I should say, that a lot of people have been mostly one-sided on and believing it's obvious that, that it's too obvious and predictable that it's going to go this route, is the main event for the world title, which is an exploding barbed wire death match between Kenny Omega, the champion, and Jon Moxley, the challenger. Some have said that it makes sense for Omega to win because Moxley's going to probably take time off, and be a, go, support, his wife Renee, who's due probably in the next couple of months with the first child, the first daughter. And that would make sense. But again, just because you believe that's what he's going to do, or you're speculating that's what he's going to do just by the nature of this match, and from a story perspective, it would make sense. There's a good chance it may not go that way, because you got to look at it this way because the one thing I pointed out to some people is you got to look at it from a overall arcing story perspective, that Tony Khan still has an issue, still has a bone to pick with Omega. So why not, screw Omega out of the title, find a way to get the title off Omega, put it back on Moxley, and then maybe you have Moxley drop it to somebody else, and then go from there. It makes more sense. It makes more sense in the long run from that perspective. But you have a lot of people, like I said, predicting Omega is going to win, and it's going to be a reason to write Moxley off so he can be with his wife and all that. And yes, there has been rumors that, according to what they're hearing, that he wants to take a break, or he's going to take a break to do that. And that might make sense. But again, it's one of those scenarios, just like with WandaVision, where we're hyping ourselves up, where we're building ourselves up and believing this match is going to go one way, and then, only to potentially be disappointed that it went another. Again, I'm not saying that people are wrong about it. They might be 100% correct, but still, we're building ourselves up believing that it's too obvious Omega's going to win, that if Moxley's the one that walks out with the title, that we're going to be disappointed, and we're going to be questioning, well, what sense does that make? And then finally it'll probably dawn on some of us that overall in story perspective, it makes sense that Tony Khan would make sure Omega loses the title, because Omega is an outsider. He's not really all elite, if you catch my drift. So again, I can understand where people are coming from, but the one thing that really gets myself and others kind of like, and I say this with no offense, kind of gets us laughing on the inside, is the fact that, and everybody has a right, and again, I say this with no offense, everybody has a right to this, but it's when people when people come out and say, yeah, Omega's going to win, and then it's going to help build towards the inevitable rematch with Hangman Page, and then he's going to drop the belt to Page, and that's fine if you believe that's going to happen, because again, that's the fun thing about speculation and theorizing. You believe that, it makes sense from a story perspective to go that route. But then inevitably, you find out that either you're 100% right and you could pop champagne and say, see, I told you so, I'm drinking champagne down to myself because I was correct, and I proved you all wrong. But again, like I said, it's one thing to potentially be right about that and celebrate that prediction that you were correct about, but then it's another to hype yourself up only to be let down the line. You see what I'm saying? So to me, when it comes to fan speculation and theorizing, it's fun to do. It's fun to do, especially if we feel that, by being correct about certain things, it's going to lead to something else that we believe should happen. But again, that's, like I said, that's the fun part about it. The bad part, like I said, overall, is the fact that we don't like being proven wrong, and we have to come out and admit it, and we have to vent and explain in our own perspective. Oh, well, this should have happened because it makes sense to do this instead of what they chose to do. So, yeah, so overall, again, the thing about being in a fandom, especially overall, it's just especially when it comes to certain shows or events or whatever, you know, is, the love of speculating and theorizing, and the fact that when we get our speculations, our theories correct, we love coming out and admitting it, sometimes shoving it in people's faces that thought it wouldn't happen. But again, like I said, the only thing we don't like about it is when we get proven wrong, because then we gotta, as I said, come out, admit we were wrong, but also kind of acknowledge that, in our opinion, it doesn't make sense for them to do this because it makes more sense to do that. So, but yeah, that's the fun thing about the fandoms overall. No matter what kind it is, you could speculate and theorize and predict and believe this is going to happen, and you might be right, and you could celebrate that. But then in the end, the downside of it is you could be wrong, and you have to come out and admit it, and in your own way, kind of explain why you felt it should have gone the way you felt it should have gone. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts overall on being part of fandoms that speculate and theorize and predict certain things and feel they should go that way? What are your thoughts overall? Do you think that kind of holds the fandom back, and makes it less thrilling to be part of, or do you think it makes it more fun? Let me know down in the comment section below in the live chat during the premiere, and I'll talk to y'all later.